A leather-bound diary, stained with ink and secrets, sits on a dusty shelf. Its pages hold the thoughts of a killer who walks among us, unnoticed, unstoppable. By the time you finish this story, you'll wonder if you've already met him. Welcome to the Diary of a Silent Killer, a tale so chilling it'll make your skin crawl and your heart pound. Tonight we're diving into a story that'll keep you glued to your screen. This isn't just a spooky tale. It feels real, too real, like it could happen to you. We're in the small town of Greywick, where the sun barely breaks through the clouds, and the air always feels heavy. Our main character, 17-year-old Ethan Carter, is about to stumble into a nightmare he can't escape. Ethan was an average kid. He lived with his dad in a rundown apartment on the edge of town. He wasn't popular, but he wasn't a loner either. Just a guy who liked sketching in his notebook and keeping his head down. Greywick was boring, he thought, until the day he found the diary. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Ethan was cutting through the old library to avoid getting soaked on his walk home from school. The library was a crumbling relic, all creaky floors and musty books no one read anymore. He was poking around the back shelves, looking for nothing in particular, when he saw it, a small, black diary tucked behind a row of encyclopedias, like someone had hidden it there. The cover was worn, the leather cracked, but the pages were crisp, filled with neat, slanted handwriting. Ethan flipped it open, curious. The first line made his stomach drop. October 12th. I watched her today. She didn't see me. They never do. His hands shook as he read on. The entries described people, strangers, neighbors, even kids from his school. Their routines, their habits, all written with cold precision. Mrs. Larson walks her dog at 6 p.m. She never locks her back door. Sloppy. Ethan slammed the diary shut, his heart racing. Who wrote this? Was it a joke? He stuffed it into his backpack, telling himself he'd turn it over to the police. But curiosity gnawed at him. That night, in his room, he read more. The entries grew darker. November 3rd, he begged. It didn't matter. The knife was sharp. Ethan's breath caught. This wasn't a prank. This was real. He should have gone to the cops right then, but something stopped him. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the thrill of knowing something no one else did. He kept reading, night after night, the diary pulling him in like a drug. The writer described their kills with eerie calm, how they chose their targets, how they planned every move. No names, just details. The girl with the red scarf. The man who jogs by the river. The boy who draws in class. Ethan froze. That last one felt too close. He sketched in class, every day. The next morning, Ethan was a mess. He barely slept, the diary's words looping in his head. At school, he scanned every face, wondering if the writer was watching him. His best friend, Lucas, noticed. Dude, you look like you're freaking out. What's wrong? Ethan hesitated. He wanted to tell Lucas, but the diary's latest entry stopped him. November 10th. Trust no one. They'll ruin everything. Instead, he mumbled, just tired, and shoved the diary deeper into his bag. That afternoon, he went back to the library, hoping to find some clue about who left the diary. The shelves were empty, but as he turned to leave, he saw something scratched into the wood where the diary had been. Keep reading, Ethan. His blood turned to ice. How did they know his name? He bolted home, locking the door behind him. That night, he couldn't resist the diary. The newest entry was dated that day, November 11th. Ethan's curious. Good. Let's play. His hands shook so hard he dropped the book. This wasn't just a diary. It was a message. The killer knew he had it. They were watching him. Ethan's life became a paranoid haze. He stopped sketching, stopped talking to Lucas, stopped trusting anyone. Every shadow felt like a threat, every stranger a suspect. He started noticing things: cigarette butts outside his apartment, a car parked across the street too long, a faint scratch on his window pane. He set up his phone to record his room at night, hoping to catch something. At 2 a.m., the footage showed a shadow moving outside, too quick to make out. But the diary had a new entry the next morning. "You're not as clever as you think." Ethan decided to fight back. He couldn't go to the police. They'd think he was crazy. And what if the killer was one of them? Instead, he started tracking the diary's clues. The entries mentioned places in Greywick, the riverbank, the old mill, the alley behind the diner. He mapped them out, looking for a pattern. They formed a circle, with his apartment in the center. His dad noticed his behavior. "Ethan, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" But Ethan couldn't tell him. The diary warned, "Tell, and they die first." He lied, said it was school stress, but his dad's worried eyes lingered. One night, Ethan followed a clue to the riverbank. The diary mentioned a favorite spot where the writer watched joggers. He hid behind a tree, heart pounding, scanning the darkness. Then he saw him, a man in a dark hoodie, standing still, staring at the water. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Look closer." He squinted and saw it, a glint of metal in the man's hand. A knife. Ethan ran, his sneakers sinking into the mud. It didn't stop until he was home, gasping, the diary clutched to his chest. The next entry was already there. "You're fast, but not fast enough," he screamed, throwing the diary across the room. It fell open to a new page. "Meet me at the mill. Midnight. Come alone." Ethan knew it was a trap, but he was tired of running. He had to end this. At 11:30 p.m., he grabbed a flashlight and his dad's old pocket knife, and headed to the abandoned mill. The building loomed in the dark, its windows shattered, its walls covered in graffiti. The air smelled of rust and decay. Inside, the floor creaked under his weight. His flashlight beam danced across rusted machinery and broken glass. "Show yourself," Ethan shouted, his voice echoing. Silence answered. Then, a laugh, low, cold, coming from everywhere. Footsteps circled him, slow and deliberate. Ethan spun, knife raised, but saw nothing. The diary, tucked in his pocket, felt heavier, like it was pulling him towards something. A door creaked open at the far end of the mill. Ethan followed, his pulse hammering. The room beyond was small, lit by a single candle. On a table sat a mirror, reflecting his terrified face. Behind him, the door slammed shut. He turned, but no one was there. The candle flickered, and words appeared on the mirror, written in what looked like blood. "You're mine now." Ethan's scream caught in his throat as the floor gave way. He fell, tumbling into darkness, landing hard on cold stone. His flashlight was gone, his knife lost. The diary lay open beside him, its pages glowing faintly. A new entry. "Welcome to the endgame." He was in a basement, walls slick with damp, air thick with the stench of something rotten. Chains rattled in the dark. Ethan scrambled to his feet, grabbing the diary. A voice whispered, close to his ear, "You read too much." He swung blindly, hitting nothing. The candlelight flickered above, impossible to reach. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time blurred. Ethan stumbled through the basement, finding doors that led nowhere, halls that looped back on themselves. The diary's pages filled as he moved, words appearing in real time. Left, right, stop, run. He followed, desperate, until he found a ladder leading up. He climbed, hands slipping, and emerged into the mill again. But something was wrong. The air was colder, the shadows sharper. The man was there, waiting. His face was ordinary, too ordinary, like a mask. No smile, no expression, just eyes that bored into Ethan's soul. "You played well," he said, voice flat. "But everyone loses." Ethan lunged, tackling the man. They hit the floor, grappling. Ethan's hand found a piece of broken glass, and he swung, slashing the man's arm. The man didn't flinch, didn't bleed. He laughed, shoving Ethan off like he weighed nothing. "Can't kill what's already gone." Ethan ran, the diary falling from his pocket. He didn't stop to grab it. He burst out of the mill, into the night, and kept running until he reached home. He locked the door, sobbing, and called his dad. But the line was dead. The lights flickered, then went out. When morning came, Ethan was alone. His dad was gone, the apartment untouched except for one thing: a new diary on his bed, identical to the first. Its first entry read, November 12th, Ethan's turn. He checked his phone, his computer, the news. Nothing about the mill, the man, or his dad. Greywick was quiet, like nothing had happened. Ethan never spoke of it. He burned the diary, moved away, and tried to forget. But sometimes, in the dark, he'd hear it, a faint laugh, a whisper of his name. Was the killer real? Was Ethan still in the game, trapped in a loop he couldn't see? Or did he imagine it all, driven mad by a book that shouldn't exist? What would you do if you found that diary? Its pages calling your name. Would you read it? Would you run? Or would you face the silent killer, knowing you might not come back? Thanks for watching, guys. If this story shook you, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Drop a comment. What would you do if you were Ethan? Check out other videos for another nightmare you won't forget. Stay safe, and don't pick up strange books.